Welcome to People and Profit, where we look at how business shapes our world. I'm Stephen Carroll. Coming up, after the global ransomware attack, we're looking at why businesses need hackers to combat the next cyber invasion. Are we heading for another Bitcoin bubble? This as the digital currency soars in value. And off the rails, why despite high unemployment, France's national train operator is having trouble recruiting drivers. First up, though, companies around the world are starting to breathe a little easier as it appears the worst of the global ransomware attack is over. Computers in 150 countries were affected by the WannaCry virus that blocked access to a user's data until a sum of money was paid. It's one of the most widespread cyber attacks that we've seen to date, and it's left many worried about what other vulnerabilities could be exploited. Well, with me in studio to discuss this further is Cedric Messeguer, who's the co-founder of Digital Security, a company that specialises in this area. Thanks for coming in to speak to us.
Thank you for having me.
I was interested to see you describe yourself as an ethical hacker. What's an ethical hacker?
An ethical hacker is a guy dedicated to finding vulnerabilities, but not being a cyber criminal. So the purpose of these kind of guys, I'm one of them, and also I'm the founder of Digital Security, is being sure that the bad guys do their stuff, but we can improve the security of the companies, of the people, by spreading the good message around this.
So you're the good guys in this battle. Are you finding that your customers, that businesses are open to the idea of letting someone that calls themselves a hacker into their business?
Yeah, definitely. So that started 10 years ago when people understand the difference between cyber criminal and hackers or ethical hackers. And now it's common. By the way, at Digital Security, we have a team of 30 people dedicated to ethical hacking. This is one of the biggest teams in France. And their daily tasks is to find vulnerabilities for our customers and make sure that they can patch it and remediate it.
It's kind of a strange logic for a company to say, could you come in and try and find out what's wrong with our systems? Are companies kind of coming around to that mentality that they really have to let someone find all of the faults that exist to protect themselves?
Yeah, it's really quite common on the market because when you find how the hackers behave, what their techniques are, you are better prepared to defend yourself. And that's the main approach. So we have to find a balance between those two approaches. Know how to be attacked, being ready to counterattack, also to defend yourself with technical and also processes that you have to put in place in your company.
And ethical hackers had a role in also stemming this ransomware attack that we're just apparently now coming to the end of.
Ethical hackers are people trying to help whenever there's a threat, or also on a common time whenever people need to be protected, or they're analyzing IoT, Internet of Things, software, website, and so on, and they try to help. And there are two ways of helping people. The first thing is being hired like within Digital Security, or being paid for that by platforms like bug bounty platforms, which are a new way to hire ethical hackers.
This is the idea that you give someone a price and say, find a vulnerability and we'll give you this much money.
Yeah.
How does it work in terms of attracting people?
So the first thing is to make sure that you only hire a good guy and not cyber criminals. The second approach is that this kind of platform just started 3 years ago in the US, and now there's one in France called Bug Bounty Factory, and this platform opens some scope, so you can be ready to open france24.com to open that to the crowd, to hundreds of hackers, and when they find a vulnerability, you will be paid only per vulnerability. So there's not monthly fee or there's nothing but the pay per vulnerability.
Is there a risk in doing something like that, that perhaps you might be opening up your site to someone who might be masquerading as an ethical hacker but is in fact a cyber criminal?
When you hire those guys, so they are signing a contract on the website so that they agreed on not being bad guys, not doing money laundering, not doing cyber criminal things with this. And the classical question we have on those purposes is, yeah, but if the guy come in and then they try to hack you for their own business, you can't stop that. A bad guy is a bad guy. He can unmask himself one at a time. But so there's legal stuff, there's technical stuff, and also the platform we are talking about is based on European rules, and it's getting higher and higher for France and for the different countries to make sure that we are ready to counter the next cyber attacks.
Well, of course, I suppose that's really the next question. We've had this ransomware attack. We seem to have escaped largely unscathed. People managed to get there pretty fast to unblock the computers that had been blocked by it. Where are the next big risks coming from? What should we be worried about next?
So the next thing is, if we're not ready to listen to increase the level of prevention we have of this kind of risk, the same story will come again and again, because this kind of attacks has come before. The first one was called Blasters years ago, and we are ready to have a next one, because the same cyber criminals who spread out the virus just said that next June they will leak new exploit and new attacks. So what we've learned is that we have to increase the balance between prevention and reaction. So making sure that 1 month ago, when we, for example, at Digital Security, discovered that the virus was ready to be open to the public, and that what happened last Friday was ready about to come, people should listen to that, patch their systems, and also being ready to react whenever there's a case like this.
Is this a big business opportunity for you as well? You're ready to react, ready to help companies with preventing. Are you finding a much greater interest in what you do?
I think that last 5 years, the increase in the cyber things has been very high. I think it was also quite high on the agenda of Mr. Macron, our president, and it's getting higher and higher. And the thing is that there's a lack of skilled, a lack of ethical hacker in France and in Europe and on a worldwide basis. So I think that's a good business, but we are lacking a lot of people, and we have to improve this visibility of this kind of budgets.
And how do you solve that problem of the lack of people?
So we have partnerships with schools. There's an increase in that number of schools and people interested in that matter. I think the media are helping a lot, because it's getting also higher on the agenda of our customer. And also we are also partnering with a platform that help ethical hackers to become part of the business and solve the solution. Because in fact, even if we are only 200 people at Digital Security, we cannot hire 2,000 or 20,000 hackers. And this is the balance between the community and what we can do as a company.
Okay, Cedric Messeguer, co-founder of Digital Security, thank you very much for coming in to speak to us.
Thanks, Sarah.
Now, those affected by the WannaCry attack were told to pay their ransom in bitcoins. The virtual currency makes tracing payments almost impossible, adding to the difficulties facing investigators. Meanwhile, the value of Bitcoin remains close to a record high, despite its image being dented by this attack. So what exactly is a Bitcoin? Well, Kate Moody's been breaking down the basics for us. Kate.
Well, Stephen, Bitcoin is an entirely digital currency which only exists electronically. Created by an unknown programmer in 2009, it has no central authority, banks, transaction fees, or oversight. It allows users around the world to remain anonymous while simplifying the payment of goods or services. As the value of domestic currency falls, demand for digital currency tends to rise. It's become increasingly popular for those looking to transfer money without being beholden to banks, and prices have skyrocketed in the past year. One single Bitcoin has been worth as much as $1,800. That's even more valuable than an ounce of gold. It's up by more than half in the last month alone. There was a similar spike in prices back in 2013, but the bubble burst after the currency's largest exchange platform collapsed. Users of the now defunct Mt. Gox said they couldn't retrieve their money. Nearly 850,000 Bitcoins, then worth over $450 million, disappeared from the platform's storage. The scandal struck a blow to the industry's efforts to reach more people because it raised issues of trust and security in holding the digital assets. Now, Bitcoin isn't the only so-called cryptocurrency in circulation, although it does dominate the market. There are over 800 others, including Ethereum, Litecoin, and Monero. Some span the globe, and others operate as a purely local form of payment. The overall market cap of altcoins has surpassed $50 billion. Regulators have struggled to catch up, although some attempts have been made. Japan, for example, has recognized digital currencies as a valid method of payment and requires exchanges to register with financial authorities. China allows individuals but not banks to trade in digital currency. The European Commission has proposed rules to reduce the risk of money laundering, while the US taxes virtual holdings as property, but is letting individual states take the lead on regulation. Stephen?
Kate, thank you very much for that. Now, unemployment in France is still close to 10%, and it's one of the major issues facing the new government. The national rail operator SNCF is one of the country's biggest employers. It wants to hire 1,000 new drivers this year, but it's having trouble filling the vacancies. Ellen Gainsford reports.
Marc Blanchet has been an SNCF driver for over 10 years. He understands the pressures of the role.
I admit it's a difficult job. You have to be constantly vigilant, reactive, whatever time it is, day or night. You have to be able to quickly apply procedure for the safety of the passengers.
Despite high unemployment in France, the SNCF is struggling to recruit. They're looking to hire 1,000 new drivers this year, but the standards for applying are high. All candidates have to pass a strict medical examination.
What's important for train drivers is that they have no underlying illnesses that could affect vigilance, concentration, or behavior.
For successful applicants, there's a year of full-time training. The final test, a spin in the simulator. Accidents or technical problems, the drivers need to know how to cope.
You can't get stressed. You have to take a step back. Don't go in with your head down. You have to think.
For Stephanie Ravi, the extra responsibility is worth the effort. Drivers have a take-home salary of 1,900 euros at the start of their careers, which can go up to 3,000 for the more experienced. But around 30% of trainees fail the course.
Many TER train services are cancelled as a consequence. The drivers aren't there, so the service is removed.
To make up for this staffing shortage, the SNCF has to relocate drivers around France, costing several million euros a year.
Well, that's it from us for this week. If you've any thoughts on the stories that we've been covering, you can get in touch on Facebook at France24 Business, or you can tweet me at NewStephen. Until next time, thanks for watching.